r/AskReddit, what's the scariest camping experience you've ever had? Throwaway_lust4ever. Alright. I don't really tell this story much anymore, not because I'm embarrassed, but because I still get weird looks when people realize just how long I was out there. You said, scariest, so here's mine. Sorry in advance for the length. I've never actually written all of this down. This happened about 6 years ago. I was 28, living in Portland, working a warehouse job. Life was stressful, bills piling up, relationship on the rocks. My dad had just died of lung cancer. I used to backpack a lot as a kid with my dad, and it always felt like a spiritual reset. So I decided to take a week off and go solo camping up in the empty Jefferson Wilderness area. I'd been there before, but only on established trails. This time, I wanted a little more adventure. I spent weeks planning it, got new maps, tuned up my gear, even bought a small ultralight stove and a fancy sleeping pad. The plan was to start at a known trailhead, hike a few miles in, then veer off and make my own route to this small alpine lake I'd found on satellite imagery. I figured I'd spend 2 or 3 days there, then loop back. I was so damn excited that first day. Cool air, sun filtering through massive pines, the smell of needles and earth. I hiked about 6 miles in, set up camp by a creek, cooked ramen, and watched the stars until I fell asleep. On the second day, I pushed deeper. I had a compass, topo map, and figured if I followed a specific ridgeline, I'd hit the lake by afternoon. Easy. Only, around noon, clouds rolled in. Then mist. The temperature dropped, and visibility went to hell. I tried to keep on the same bearing, but everything looked the same: mossy rocks, ferns, towering trunks. After 2 hours of slogging I realized I hadn't seen the slope change the way the topo suggested. I tried to backtrack, but that didn't feel right either. By late afternoon the fog cleared, but my guts sank. I was completely turned around. I kept telling myself to stay calm, there was plenty of daylight. I'd find a high point, spot a landmark. But all I found was more trees. That night I camped in a random hollow. I forced myself to make a fire, cooked some instant rice, tried to laugh at how I'd screwed up. I just retraced my steps in the morning. No big deal. Except I didn't sleep. Every crack of a branch had me jerking awake. I thought I heard something big breathing nearby. I gripped my knife so tightly my hand cramped. The next few days are sort of a blur. I tried methodically backtracking, checking my compass, trying to find my old boot prints. But the forest floor was too soft, the undergrowth too thick. Every clearing looked like the last. I rationed my food strictly: half a protein bar for breakfast, a handful of trail mix at lunch, tiny bit of ramen at night. I sipped water carefully, boiling from streams. By the 4th day, I realized I was traveling in circles. I found one of my own markers, a little stack of stones I'd made. That was the first time I truly panicked. I threw up, then started sobbing, alone in the dirt. A week in, the forest felt different. Less like trees and rocks, more like something alive that wanted to keep me. I started talking to myself constantly, narrating everything I did. Okay, let's tie this cord here, keep the tarp tight, that's good, smart thinking. I'd wake up convinced I heard voices. I dreamed my dad was calling to me from just behind the next tree. Once I swore I saw the glow of a headlamp, sprinted toward it, and nearly broke my ankle in a hole. My food was basically gone by day 10. I tried to fish with makeshift lines but didn't catch a thing. Eventually I resorted to eating tiny white grubs under logs, and chewing on bitter green shoots. I found a patch of mushrooms and ate them carefully after trying spore prints. Turns out they were edible. Probably the only luck I had. Water was also getting harder. Some streams dried up. I started digging shallow pits hoping moisture would seep up overnight. Sometimes it worked, sometimes I just sucked mud from moss. I lost so much weight my pants barely stayed up. My hips were bruised from the pack straps. My lips cracked and bled. I'd get dizzy and have to sit for long stretches, shivering violently even when it wasn't cold. Around day 15, my gums started bleeding. I remember crouching by a tiny pool, rinsing my mouth, watching blood swirl out like little crimson ribbons. The worst night, worse than any bear scare, was when I woke up and didn't know who I was. I mean that literally. I didn't recognize my own hands. It felt like someone else's body. I started clawing at my chest, repeating, "Who am I? Who am I? Who am I?" until I was hoarse. It passed after a minute or two, but it left me shaken to my core. I realized my mind was starting to slip. I don't know what finally saved me. Sheer dumb luck, I guess. On day 27, I found this out later from a hospital nurse based on how long I'd been reported missing. I climbed a small rise and spotted a straight line through the trees, the edge of a dirt logging road. I literally crawled the last 50 feet to it. Not 2 hours later, a pair of guys in a battered Ford came along hauling equipment. They jumped out, gave me water, radioed for help. I kept saying, "Please don't leave me here," over and over. Hospital for a week. Lost nearly 40 pounds. My kidneys were on the edge of shutting down. My family flew in from across the country. I was delirious, kept asking if the trees were outside my window. Even now, I can't do solo hikes anymore. I'll go on short day trails with friends, but if the light starts to change, I feel my chest tighten. Sometimes I wake up in my bed, heart pounding, convinced I'm still in that forest. So yeah. That's my scariest camping experience. I guess the moral is: never think you're too experienced to get lost. Always have a GPS beacon, tell people exactly where you're going, and never get cocky about the woods. If you read all this, thanks. It kind of helped to finally let it all out.